May the force be with you, dudes. Welcome to The Weekender.
Hola.
Okay, couple of quick announcements before we get stuck into all of the breaking news of what's been happening this week in the world of gaming. But last week was Star Wars Legion weekend. We have a live blog up. It's worth going to check out. We have a ton of projects there. I built an Ewok army. Yeah.
You did indeed.
I'm going to be showing it off on XLBS tomorrow. So looking forward to that. Also, an announcement for anybody that's that fancies having a go over the Christmas period and up until just about the end of January. We're running a little hobby challenge for everybody, just so because now you're going to get a bit of downtime. We're running a Star Wars hobby challenge.
So now that they have downtime, we're putting them to work.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, remember that we've got a couple of little activities that are running over the Christmas period. For our Cult of Games members, each of the houses are currently working on a challenge to create a travel game based on the topic of a cult. Which is kind of fun. So that's what the houses are working on. So the House of Three Truths are into that. The House of Water and the House of Rejuvenation, they're all getting stuck in and coming up with that. So we have that to footer at over Christmas. Now, as an individual thing, we're putting out just an individual, simple hobby challenge, okay? And all you have to do is a little bit of hobby on Star Wars. And you know what? It can be anything. If you want to paint a mini, if you want to do a little bit of terrain, if you want to weather a Star Wars toy, you can do whatever you want. Just do a little bit of hobby on Star Wars. And to be in with a chance of winning, all you have to do is create a project within the system, tag that project as the Star Wars Hobby Weekend. Because we're going to keep all of the projects in there as part of that. So you consider this almost like an extension of the Hobby Weekend. Okay?
Right. Can I borrow some model mates?
Yes.
Good. Now I just need a Jar Jar plushie to weather down.
Okay. Right. Yeah, if you want to do it, if you want to do a Star Wars costume, if you want to do a Star Wars homemade lightsaber hilt.
What's a plushie?
What's
a cuddly toy.
A cuddly pillow.
And you want to make it look brown?
Yeah, just sleep with it for a day.
Hard. Unnecessarily hard. Well.
So do a little bit of Star Wars hobby, and we're going to be giving away a Clone Wars starter set.
Ooh, the new one.
Yes, the new Clone Wars starter set. We're going to give that away to the winner. And possibly a couple of our own in-house little 3D prints that we've been doing as a couple of little extra goodies to the winner and to a couple of runner-ups.
Yeah.
Okay? So we'll pick 3. Winner will get Clone Wars and a couple of 3D prints of something cool. And the runner-ups will get a couple of 3D prints of something cool.
Okay.
Okay? Now, I've got an important thank you to make. Okay? So on the run-up to the Star Wars weekend, Fantasy Flight, in all of their wisdom, were having some issues with the supply of Star Wars product. After all these years, it's still the same. The stuff comes in, it flies off the shelf, and then it's a while again before it comes in, and there's no definitive date. So we were running a little bit, as you could say, touching cloth on the run-up to the Star Wars weekend. But I want to say a massive thank you to Vince over at Asgard Games. Vince runs a beautiful, beautiful store that has just been recently reopened in a new location. It looks amazing. And Vince very kindly helped us out with a box of the Clone Wars stuff, to help us fulfill the dreams of the folk that had arrived.
Actually, one of my buddies, Bob Cocaine, while you're saying they moved recently, he kept sending me little videos, time lapses of them setting up.
Yes. So they have some little videos of the place being built. Please do go check out Asgard Games because they have built such a beautiful, beautiful facility. Whenever you see what they do, and they do quiz nights, they have loads and loads of stuff. So I just want to say, it's always lovely when the community and the stores and stuff, get together and we help each other out. Bob, Bob, yeah, thank you, mate. He acted as the delivery mule, but Vince, thank you, man. It was really appreciated.
So
really appreciated.
AsgardWargames.co.uk.
Yes, not to be confused with Justin's space station where he's an Arse Guardian. So it's
Asgardian.
oh, sorry, Asgardian. Yes. So
Those guys are still messaging me trying to get taxes off me.
pay your taxes, man.
I'm not paying those taxes.
Don't be
I
a
don't
tool.
live there yet.
Don't be a tool. You signed up to be an Asgardian. You pay the Asgard tax.
You
dude.
did it on my behalf. I should charge you taxes.
No, I just was looking out for you, man.
Subsidiary taxes.
You have always wanted to be an Asgardian of the galaxy.
Honestly,
so it's like
if I ever have the chance to go to space, I'm there.
really,
Yes.
really,
Yes.
you promise.
Yes.
So if I get a balloon thing going,
No. I need to be able to come home safely.
well, you could,
I don't want a one-way ticket.
you could pop a few balloons. People have done it, Justin.
I have seen those videos. It's weird.
You know, people have done it. They've got a dude.
They've got high, but not that high.
They have got a dude to the edge of space. In fact, I think he was pretty much in the space. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. Right,
We're always in some kind of space, Warren.
look, we have spent the last 10 years hobbying our butts off. I think that pretty much makes our crew like the hobby equivalent of the MacGyvers. Okay? So
Where's Elon Musk when you need him?
So forget Elon. Elon's busy.
He's the only man I would trust to send me up and bring me back.
I'm going to take care of
Even
this for
after
you.
that window fiasco.
Well, I'm sure it's a different crew
Do you
building
know
this
the
spaceship.
do you know the window fiasco?
I know, the armor glass window.
And
Yeah.
he wheels it out and says, "Guy, chuck a big metal ball at that, and nothing will happen." It goes right through it.
No, it didn't
Well,
go
it
through.
doesn't go through.
It didn't go through.
That's a key thing. It didn't
Yeah.
go through.
The table broke the fall.
But it did happen multiple times on different panes on the,
Anyway,
the truck.
forget Elon. I'm going to sort this out for you, man.
Oh, God.
Because I reckon with balloons, a chair, some bin bags, hairdryer, and some extension cables that we plug into each other to
Lot of
extend
extension
them. Yeah.
cables.
So,
We're going to need an 80s dieting suit as well.
and an 80s dieting suit.
What in the name of God is an 80s dieting suit? I have never heard of this.
Well, this is what's
is this safe to Google?
Yeah, this is yeah. Put it in an '80s sweatsuit, right? An '80s. So they were like a.
Hang on, you mean a shell suit?
No.
Okay.
No. This thing was made of like PVC, okay? And in the '80s, what you did is you put it on to lose weight, okay?
Whereas we put it on to go into space.
We put them on. Mum had one, and it was silver, man. It was the perfect space suit. So we used to put our mums on and
You would have looked like Pan's people.
run, run the garden.
So what you do is you put it on, you tape up the ends.
Mother of God.
Yes.
Oh, I know.
Then you get the hairdryer.
Is it that one?
This is it here. That's it there. Do you see
Well,
that?
let's
All right,
try to get.
let me embiggen it.
That's
no.
exactly it.
How
Open
about
image of a
how
new
about
tab.
how about you scroll a bit further? There we go. Now I can cut to it.
Yes, that is. So we'll get you one of those,
No.
and we'll use gaffer tape to seal the edges, right?
No.
It looks like Jaws era Steven Spielberg.
So that will be your pressure shoot, because you'll be under pressure if you put that on. That's for sure. So look, we'll run a
Why did I
campaign.
open my mouth?
If any of you guys are aerospace engineers out there, okay, do me a favor and keep your mouth shut, and the rest of us will work out how to send Justin to space.
I'm just gonna be like the space sphere from Portal 2. Space. Wanna
There's
go to space.
bound to
Wanna
be
go
a-
to space. Space is big. Wanna go home. Wanna go
In
home. Home,
in
home,
other
home, home.
news,
Yes.
it's Christmas time. It's Christmas time. Mistletoe and wine. Justin's gone to space on a fishing line. Okay,
See,
so-
I was gonna go more with Warren's driving me out of my mind. No, it doesn't work. Damn it.
I think you've got because there's a problem there. If you put him on a fishing line, we will be getting him back.
Oh yeah, right enough. Yeah, we'll clip it. We'll steal his clippers before he goes.
But hang on, I need those to pop the balloons to land.
Right. So, we're breaking up for Christmas,
Yeah.
as every good couple does. Right. So we're all going to break up for Christmas. Okay. We will. Will we do anything over Christmas? Will we do something for Christmas Eve for a bit of crack? Will we get together for Christmas Eve? The four of us. We'll let Ben wrap up cozy with his veganism. So watch out for the B12, man. Watch out for the B12. You don't want to get ill, okay? But how about the four of us get together on the afternoon of Christmas Eve and just have a wattle together for XLBS, yeah? So Christmas Eve, XLBS. Other than that, we'll then be back the week after. Yeah? So we're going to take Christmas off.
Yeah, so we're off the week of Christmas.
We'll do an XLBS for Christmas Eve.
Okay.
And then we're going to be off then for couple of days extra.
The Weekender and XLBS will be back the first weekend in January is what you're basically trying to say.
The Weekender and the XLBS will be back the first weekend in January. That's what I'm pretty much trying to say.
Nice.
So we will be recharged and ready to rock and roll.
Absolutely. And you'll be back from space, hopefully.
Hang on. You're not sending me up to space in the middle of winter. It's going to be cold up there.
Oh, it might be, Justin. It might be. Okay. On with the show. Onwards and upwards. Ben, what the hell's going on in the world, man?
Cool. So first off, a little bit of Marmite to always start things off. Sounds like a good idea. And this is the announcement of the new Grombrindal anniversary Christmassy model that Games Workshop always do for this time of year. And so we have a new version of Grombrindal who has now pledged himself to the Adeptus Mechanicus and the cult of the machine. And so he is now presented in a new format alongside the black gobbo that he has turned into a servitor. So this new model, which some people like, some people don't like at all, is going to be available just after Christmas in the weekend that follows up from that, and you'll be able to go and pick it up from Games Workshop stores.
So the Christmas miniature that's available after Christmas.
Yes.
See, I like this.
And what's with the beard erection thing going on here? What's this?
The what? Oh, yeah, the mechadendrite.
Yeah. It's a what?
Mechadendrite.
A mechadendrite.
Yeah.
What's a mechadendrite?
It's just a little tentacle limb that the Mechanicus use.
Oh, it's a tentacle limb.
Yeah, now Warren, I'm amazed you're not asking the question that's on my mind. Why is the gobbo wearing metal Y-fronts?
Because he has style.
If you're the wrong trousers, Justin.
If you're standing beside a guy that has that many tentacles, I'd be wearing metal pants too.
It's a goblin equivalent of a chastity belt. So
Okay, fair enough.
Now
surely the Mechanicus would remove those parts.
Justin, just for all of us within the wargaming community, none of us will ever really have much need of a chastity belt, but that's what one looks like should you ever have to.
Honestly, I actually kind of like this. It's cool seeing all the dwarven symbols mixed in there.
I think it looks shit.
Marmite.
It's a bit. I told you it would be Marmite.
It's a bit flat looking, but it's probably just because it was taken face on. What issues do people have with it, Ben?
So a lot of people just don't really like the fact that we're seeing another sort of more sci-fi version of Grombrindal. A lot of people would have liked to see him done in slightly more of an interesting Age of Sigmar style, maybe sort of embiggen him or something and do something in that regard. But I think as I was looking back through some of the stuff they've done in the past, they've done things like Vampire Hunter versions of him. So he's been around in the past as like a Warhammer Fantasy character and stuff. But,
this is an actual serious model then?
No.
Well, it's not a serious model.
It's not serious, but it's an actual model.
But is it a Christmas model or is it not?
It is.
It's a model for Christmas.
It's a Christmas model after Christmas.
Yeah. Not to be confused with the red gobbo.
Which was the actual Christmas model.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which has been out since...
Yeah.
Like
this is
October.
more of just a tradition.
Yeah, limited
Yeah,
edition
it's something they do every year, just a little tiny kind of like anniversary gift kind of thing. So.
Yeah. It's all right. Nothing to write home about. I do like the Y-front, so Justin. I think you're right. I'm glad that your
Look
eyes.
at how nasty and yellow they are.
Well, Justin, I'm glad that your eyes immediately moved to the crotch area.
That's exactly the same color your plushie will be once you've done it.
Look at his wee eyes flicking down, looking for goblin.
Yeah.
Goblin cock.
Goblin ghoulies. That's what you're looking to say.
Okay, so on the topic of Star Wars,
Where's that pencil?
which we obviously weren't on the topic of, and Lloyd is distracted me because he's furiously writing down all the shit that I'm saying that they're going to cut out of the show.
It is the end of the year, Warren. You're kind of burnt out. The filter needs replacing over the Christmas holidays.
Yeah, I'll get myself a new carbon filter, guys, for the new year. So it's yeah. Yeah. Did you get that wrote down?
Yeah. Oh, there's some more Star Wars
There
coming
was
up.
2 shits and a cock in there. So I was like,
Well, there's
Another
more.
one. I mean, like, is this going to be like the 12 Days of Christmas song, except for Warren cursing?
well, the birds thruppings annoy the mother.
Yeah,
Okay, right. Star Wars Legion. There's some new releases coming up, right? So
Yeah.
first up, we have. I love this Cassian Andor and K2SO.
Yeah, so this is a bunch of stuff that we sort of teased and talked about a little bit last weekend when we were doing the Star Wars Weekend XLBS. But this is a proper look at some of the stuff that they've got coming up. So this is all going to be coming out at the sort of start of 2020. So you've not got too long to wait until this arrives on the tabletop. Although, as you say, Fantasy Flight Games and all their problems and all that kind of thing. But hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be able to play as Cassian Andor and K2SO, who come together as a little bit of a commander pack that you can use in the game of Star Wars Legion. Obviously, they're from Rogue One. You might remember them. I thought they were very cool characters. Thought they were really interesting. And so it's nice to see them coming to the tabletop in a little bit of a different way, sort of adding to the rebellion in a different sort of flavor. I thought it was really cool. Go for it, yes.
They have 3 order tokens on there, so I'm wondering, is this the commander variant and a specialist variant?
Yes, because you can
Together?
see the specialist variant on top.
Oh, cool.
Ta-da!
There you go. Jerry answered the
Thank you,
question.
Jerry.
for
There you go. A question answered, man.
Yeah,
Is
fair enough.
K2SO a commander in this? Surely K2SO would just be a specialist. You wouldn't make a commander out of K2SO, would you?
I don't know. I mean, like it
Sure.
it
Or am
might
I-
be
am
that
I
they
reading
activate
too
as a
deeply into
unit.
this?
Put the picture back up again.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, so that's your top card. That's a commander card, and it's just
Okay.
Cassian Andor,
Yeah.
which means
K2SO,
K2SO may be a add-on for him.
An attached.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Possibly.
That's okay. That's good.
Mhm.
The
other cool thing about this little set as well, and the other set that we're going to be looking at in a second, is that they actually come with a few different sort of options in the kit. So, for example, with K2SO and Cassian there, you can either have him with his rifle or his pistol out, and with K2SO, you can have him with the pistol being held out, as he would have had at the end of, towards the end of Rogue One, or you can have him without the pistol at all. So that was an interesting one. So that's kind of
I
cool.
still find it very sad that they
Spike
killed
2.
them off at the end of Rogue One.
Well, you had to. Where were they going to go?
Well, they could have done Rogue 2 and then they got killed off.
But
Rogue
where were they
2
going to
Electric.
go?
Rogue 1 2.
Like,
What?
with them being so pinnacle to that movie, it'd be weird then that they didn't pop up on A New Hope.
Do you mean pivotal?
No, you could still have killed
Sorry,
them off.
pivotal.
You could still have killed them off before New Hope.
Oh, you want another follow-up movie with them alive before New Hope?
Yeah. But it
would still be weird because the plans had literally been put in Leia's hands and she flew off. That was the start of A New Hope.
Yeah, I suppose
There's a
I suppose you're
TV
right.
series coming, if that makes you feel
No,
any
no,
better.
And is he in it?
Yeah.
No, but it's not a TV series.
It's a prequel.
It's another movie. It's a
Oh, it's another
spin-off.
movie?
Well, as far the last thing I read is it's going to be another movie.
Disney keep chopping and changing.
Oh,
so
okay.
so it'll
That's-
either be a prequel movie or a prequel TV series.
Yeah,
It will
but
end up on
either
Disney.
all I'm
way, it's
saying
going to be
is-
like a spy heist thing.
All I'm saying is Cassian Andor and K2SO, they were characters that I didn't tire of them because they were killed off. I just would like to have known a little bit, seen a bit more of them, you know? So, right. We also have the Vital Asset Pack and hostage exchanges as well, Ben.
Before we pop onto that, there's also another set that was coming out in terms of the commander sort of element, but for the
Okay.
Galactic Empire side of things,
Uh-huh.
and that's Iden Versio and ID10, who's her little droid that's going to be a little sort of add-on to her. So if anyone doesn't know who she is, she's from Inferno Squad. So it's like a set of specialists and pilots and sort of stealth operatives that fight for the Galactic Empire. And she featured in the Battlefront 2 campaign, I think, for Star Wars. Not the original one, the remake that came out not too long ago. So she's been taken from the video game, which sort of has been tied into this sort of whole ethos and the new kind of universe that they're creating for Star Wars right now. Obviously, they got rid of a lot of the old expanded universe, or they're rehashing a lot of it as well now anyway. But so she's a pretty cool character. She, once again, comes with a whole bunch of different options. So you can have her with the helmet or without and stuff, which is really cool. And she's a really awesome character in the video game. Not too, obviously, spoiled too much. It's been out for quite a while anyway. But she ends up turning against the Galactic Empire. So it'd
And
be really interesting to see
that's
if
why
people-
she's not cool. That video game. The problem with that video game is it has been out for ages. So spoilers, right?
For a video
For
game.
anybody who hasn't got interested in it, the thing with that video game, the plot line was that it was going to follow from a Imperial perspective.
Yeah.
The way every Star Wars video game or movie you ever watched is always from the Rebel or
Republic,
whatever
yeah,
Republic's perspective. This was going to be, Empire kicking ass, taking names, and then not even halfway through, a couple hours into it, she switches and goes, "Nope, nope, this is all bad. I shouldn't be
that's
doing
terrible.
this."
Oh, that's
and
not
just,
nice.
and
They're
just,
the worst.
just turns on a
Yeah.
what is it? What's the expression?
On a
Turn-
dime.
On a
Turned
dime.
dime.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
looking for. What do you
See, I
think
mean,
of
she
that? What do you
does
think of that, Ben? She turned on a dime.
She does have fairly good reason to turn because she sees basically all of her troops get destroyed by the Emperor. Well,
Not that I want to.
So,
not that I want to spend time promoting video gaming, but what's this new Jedi game that's out?
Titanfall 2
Jedi
in
Fallen
space.
Order, yeah, it's pretty good.
What? No, what's it called? Jedi what?
Jedi Fallen Order. It's
Jedi
really
Fallen
good.
Order. I'm hearing that that's the best Star Wars game ever made.
Yeah, they said
Well,
that.
it's the best Star Wars game to date because it's an actual single player story driven game rather than just a multiplayer like free.
So like a Knights of the Old Republic kind of thing.
yeah.
Because
Yeah,
it
well,
was
so
a superb game.
But it will be good.
Yay!
Because-
No loot boxes.
It's come from Respawn, who made Titanfall 2, and
Which
its
is an amazing
single
game.
player campaign is one of the most fun campaigns I've played in ages.
Cool.
So this is a game I might actually play.
Well, you don't
Yeah.
have to worry about some 10-year-old that plays it 10 hours a day kicking your
Well,
ass the whole
Yeah, so,
time.
but that's what happens on every online game I ever play.
Here's the
so-
other thing you might prefer about it is it's third person rather than first.
Yes.
Because I think you get a bit sick when you play first. Do you not have a bit of travel or motion sickness when you're doing first?
I don't know. It's been
Not
so
particularly.
long. It's been so long since I've done it. So
It reminds me. It reminds a lot of people of some of the old Jedi Knight sort of academy games that came out way
Yeah.
back on sort of like the PlayStation and Nintendo and stuff. But obviously, with lots of updated fancy stuff in the mix as well. There's a couple of sort of elements from kind of Dark Souls and that kind of thing brought into there. So there's a little bit of a difficulty level spike to the game, but not too much that a lot of casual gamers can't just enjoy it. So it's actually really good, and I've seen a lot of good stuff about it. So.
well, look. I want to talk about this hostage exchange thing
Yes.
because
Yeah.
this is really important to me because I have invested in a 3D scanner. Okay.
Ooh.
It's something that I've wanted to do for a long time. The Star Wars weekend opened my eyes to the ability for us to do resin prints, like unbelievable resin prints.
Yeah.
And I realized that I could get my ultimate Star Wars character into my game. And
Right.
I've been looking forward to this for so long, Justin. And a massive thank you to Justin as well for making this happen. You know, it's so I'm going to have Justin in a gold bikini, okay? And what we're going to do is he's going to do a hostage exchange. So
I
can
have
you- can
never,
you-
and nor will I ever, do that cosplay. You
Again.
could not.
again.
What?
Oh, Justin, you should see the gold bikini. It's a crotchless bikini.
Right. That doesn't really help here.
Well, it was because it looked a bit tight, so I thought, oh, we'll make it a bit easier on you. So it's like man, it's great. You're gonna love it. You're
Yeah.
gonna love it. The whole community. Do you know what? I'm gonna sell the minis, okay, at a premium. So each one will be 50p at least, okay, and free pair of clippers with every one. So and a magnifying glass. You're gonna love it, man. Ben, tell me about the hostage exchange.
Cool. So this is a new sort of Battlefield expansion set that you've seen Fantasy Flight Games do before. They've done things like the Downed ATST and stuff like that. But this one comes with a couple of extra bits and pieces for those people that want to dive in on the Clone Wars side of thing. Obviously, you could then use it in the sort of
you're some kind of Jedi.
stuff, the original trilogy and that kind of thing as well.
Wrong
But,
character, Warren.
in the set,
No,
you
right
get
character.
in the set you get 2 hostages, 6 bombs, 6 crates, and a whole bunch of repulsor pallets and things which you could use as objective markers, and also as part of the actual scenarios that they set up for this particular pack as well. So as I say, you'll have the option to play through either a scenario which is all about sort of a hostage exchange between 2 sides. I believe the characters there, you've obviously got the one from the prequels that everyone will know, from the Separatist faction.
Warren
And
does.
you've also got a character from the Clone Wars as well, I think, as well. But also, on top of all of that, you've also got the option to play sort of like a supply drop grab scenario. So there'll be a whole bunch of different supply drops set up on the battlefield, and you'll be racing, obviously, between the 2 of you or however many people are playing the game to try and collect all of these different supply drops and bring them back to your deployment area as well. So
Interesting.
some cool stuff there for
Lots
objective
of-
players. to
Lots
get
of
involved.
nice new options for your gaming, for your Star Wars gaming, which is good because anything you don't need necessarily new armies to keep a game fresh. Different kind of scenarios and options for play can also help that. And I've got to say, maybe just because I'm in Star Wars mode at the moment, Legion is really, really taking my fancy. Like, I mean, it's cool. It is cool, I've got to say.
After seeing everyone play at the weekend, I'm really in the mood to start a Clone Trooper army.
Yeah,
Just because I'm seeing the miniatures built and just looking really cool on the tabletop.
They do.
Makes me want them. I don't want to do droids, though.
why not?
They are tiny and they are fiddly.
Easier to paint, though.
True.
Much easier.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I've been trying to convince John to go halfers with me on the Clone Wars starter set.
Yeah.
But
That should be
we'll see how that
doable
goes.
because I know he's after the droids.
He's after
Yeah,
the
what
droids.
he
Yeah.
really wants is the B1 battle droids because he is. I don't know. He just seems to like them a little too much.
Mhm.
They're very easy to paint.
Mm.
They're just silver.
I've
you
some
know,
things.
those are-
wait,
aren't too hard
which
to paint.
which ones is he after?
Roger.
So they're not silver, they're kind of tan.
They've got that look, sort of like brown color to them. Yeah.
Are they not the B1? Because the B2
That's
are the
what I said,
large
the B1.
shoulders.
B2s are the super battle
Yeah, you
droids.
said B2.
Did I? I
Yeah.
meant B1.
That's why I said
B2s
they're
are the
silver.
ones that look more like Cylons.
Yes.
Yeah.
With the rocket launchers in their wrists. And
Yeah.
stuff.
Who still sound like they're tiny. Me.
I am seriously looking forward to some of the prequels, or not the prequel stuff, some of the final trilogy stuff making its way into Legion. The beauty of the Legion stuff that has really appealed to me is the fact that all of the periods blend. So there, you can grab something from one period and battle it with something in the next period, and there's a nice blend there. The technology works its way all the way through. And we know this because the Millennium Falcon was there from start to finish. My personal wish list. I want to see some of the new stormtroopers from the
First
the
Order
final-
troopers.
Yeah, First Order troopers, or maybe even
Hold on a minute.
other Order troopers.
The Millennium Falcon doesn't feature in the prequels.
Yes, it does.
Yes,
does.
it does.
When?
So when they're flying into Coruscant to the Jedi Temple, in
Was
the
this
first
something we
one,
just see in the background?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
but it's taking off from a landing pad on Coruscant.
Yeah. So it is there. It's the ship is that old. It's a good age of a ship in the grand scheme of things. What I want though, I desperately want Y-wings.
What type of Y-wing though? Do you want Y-wings without their armor on, or the Y-wings that are actually fully armored?
I am glad you asked because I was having this very conversation with Jerry this week where I was saying I actually like both variants. I like the fully assembled Y-wing with all its armor on, and I love the Y-wing when it's all been kind of scrapped and it's just there and it's bare bones. But I just so want Y-wings, man. I really do. And
I prefer them when they're bare and all. Just that
Yeah.
half shell thing just rocks for me because you see all the wee.
maybe over
Wow.
Christmas
That's
I can
interesting.
tackle a 3D print job and see if I can print out. Justin, will you do that for me?
I was just about to turn to say and go, you know, Warren, I kind of would like to go and see my family and get my Christmas dinner.
Well, once you've done my Y-wing.
No, I tell you one thing I kind of don't want to see is what was the name of the wee speeder thing that they had whenever they were trapped in the second of the current trilogy?
A speeder thing that they had when they were trapped in
Yeah,
the
it was-
second of the current trilogy.
Aye, they were in the rebel base, the abandoned one, and they found the shitty sort of like half skimmer things.
Oh, the little skimmers that ran across the.
Yeah, I
Oh,
don't
right.
like
Oh,
them.
no,
Yeah, they look
the-
great.
right.
Like
So
them.
the
Right.
the
I don't know what they're
skiffs-
called.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
kind of skiffs
The one they had loads of.
that
Yeah.
they scratched the surface and
Yeah.
revealed the red and stuff.
Yeah,
Why don't you want to see them?
I just didn't like the look of them. They just do
Why?
nothing for me.
I like the look of them. I just thought what they did with them was crap.
I don't know. They just felt really crappy and just shitty to me. So I don't want
But-
them.
That's
because
because
they were crappy and shitty.
It's the whole point. They're abandoned tech in an old
Yeah.
abandoned base.
Yeah.
It's not exactly going to come screaming out of the dock like they're
Uh-huh.
pristine and brand new.
I thought I thought again.
fu-
I would have preferred it if Finn had actually sacrificed himself. It was a scene that
We would have all preferred that, probably.
you know. It's not because I had anything against Finn. I just think it was there for the taking.
See, you're
You know,
too
the
used to
big-
Game of Thrones, where Mr. George R. R. Martin's just ready to go. Oh, your favorite character's gone. Sorry
No,
about that. Too
no.
bad.
Yeah, but hang on a second. In that very
George-
same movie, they got rid of Snoke. They got rid of Phasma.
Yeah.
They were showing no.
Yeah, but that's the villains. It's okay
there's
to
that-
kill the
Or
villains.
there was that really old film came out in the 70s Star Wars,
Yes.
where Obi-Wan Kenobi dies halfway through.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair enough.
Or that film where
You can kill
what do
a
you call him, Qui-Gon
Gin and
Jinn?
tonic.
He dies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm in the wrong. I apologize.
Heroes can be killed as long as there's a reason for it.
Yes.
You don't
And-
just
and
need
What
to
would be the
off
reason
them
to kill Finn?
because
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 he was
he could've-
sacrificing himself for the
sacrificed
good
himself
of
for the-
Sacrificed himself
okay.
for the.
It was the completion of his story arc.
But wouldn't
Yeah.
people have just complained, oh, they're just doing it because they did it in the old movies then?
I don't know.
I've never seen him
I
kill a
think it would have
character.
earned it if they killed him off. But
Yeah.
They just pointed out too that they killed.
I haven't finished. I never seen him kill a character purposefully sacrificing himself flying in a crappy ship
Fair
into
enough.
a giant
Okay.
laser weapon.
Okay, fair
and
enough.
I would pay to see that.
Yes.
Now, actually, now on the topic, remember the Millennium Falcon wasn't even supposed to make it in the original trilogy.
Okay.
It got blown up. It didn't make it out of the Death Star.
Oh, in Empire, or sorry, no, in Return of the Jedi.
In Jedi, and then the audience watched it, and it was a negative response, so they redid that bit and made it that they
With the
survived.
woohoo.
Which is good because Lando survived, and that was a good thing. Right. From one piece of mega IP to the next piece of mega IP. We have some ultimate scenario and raids released for Crisis Protocol, Ben.
yeah, so this is a new free PDF that you can download for those people that are playing Marvel Crisis Protocol. It uses pretty much everything from the core box, so you don't need to get anything extra new or anything like that. You can just print this off and get started. The idea of these ultimate raid scenarios that they're doing is that it's a 2 versus 1 game. So 2 people will take on the teams of both the heroes and villains, however you want to mix them together, and then one person will take control of what's called I think it's the cosmic threat. In this case, in this first one, it's going to be Ultron. So this is going to be Ultron, the master of machines, and he's going to be the sole person that someone takes control of with an entirely updated and sort of improved stat card that you'll get in the download pack. And he'll be going up against both the heroes and villains from both different players in order to try and complete his doomsday machine and destroy the Earth and turn everything into machines and all that kind of thing and that stuff. The heroes themselves will be trying to rescue as many of the frightened civilians as they can and also stop Ultron by dazing him enough times to break through his firmware and shut him down as well. So they've really played up with the idea of having this idea of like a 1 versus 2 mechanic, which I think is really cool. But really interesting to see what they do in the future as well, because they've also included some rules in this scenario that sort of point towards stuff in the future. So they've talked about the idea of each of the different cosmic threats having what's called minions. So there'll be heroes or villains that have been sort of like brought under the cosmic threats sway effectively. So maybe think like a mind-controlled Hulk or something like that. And so the idea is that you'll play as those alongside your big bad villain at the same time. So yeah, it's just a new and interesting way to play Marvel Crisis Protocol. And as I say, it all comes with what you need from the starter set. So you could just pick that up, download this, and get stuck in and play right away. So
I do wonder, does this make it fully cooperative, or is it, we're both playing the good guys, Jerry, but one of our teams is doing better than the other? So could you get distracted?
So in it, the 2 teams are actually playing completely cooperatively versus the 1 person. So it is a proper 2 versus 1 mechanic.
Okay.
I can't wait to see them trying to subdue the Hulk.
Good shout.
Yes.
Because, every time you punch him, he just makes him more angry. It's a shame he's got a toilet seat on his head. Not sure why they went with that for Ultron.
That's some form of energy field.
But
The other cool...
It's a gurning. He's a gurner.
Oh,
So he's got one of them horse bridle things.
when are you going to start the current? But it will be interesting to see what else they come up with for this, because I know Adam, sort of games designer from Australia, went in with Marvel Crisis Protocol when he got his copy and decided he would do some interesting things, because he had, I'm not sure where they came from, it was an old Marvel game where you had like little POG type tokens, and he had just dozens of the Ultron ones. So he ran Ultron and made up his own rules for, that bit in Age of Ultron where there's just swarms of all his little tiny Ultron bots just coming.
Yeah.
So he just had waves. So, the heroes in the box set, because he liked to tinker with stuff, would be one massive Ultron and then just dozens of tiny Ultrons just running in and swarming over the heroes.
That's what I think will be really cool to see what they do in the future for this, because obviously a lot of what they're doing, and I think their kind of direction to begin with anyway over the next however many months with the different phases we've seen, is going to be creating obviously characters for the different heroes and the villains.
Yeah.
But I'd be really interested to see if they do something where they create things like sort of lower level heroes. So then maybe they do something with Maria Hill, and then she comes in with a bunch of Shield agents. Or, for example, if you have things like with Ultron, obviously, maybe you have some of his Ultron bots popping up as sort of like individual enemies, or the Skitari or something from the new movies and stuff that we saw brought in by Thanos and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what they do, because there's a lot of different sort of depth and breadth for them to do something with this and have it so that it can be almost like an entirely cooperative experience versus, you know, the game potentially as well. So
Doombots.
Doombots. Yeah, Doombots. Oh my God, that'd be
Doombots
amazing.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Historicals. We have some previews for the next Flames of War and for Team Yankee for 2020, Ben.
Yeah. So Battlefront Miniatures had a little bit of a sort of look ahead into 2020 and what they've got coming up for us, with a couple of different sort of teasers and previews. And one of the first things is that they're going to be sort of finishing off effectively the D-Day stuff. So the first book we're going to get is going to be a D-Day British one, which will come with a bunch of new plastic models, including things like the paratroopers and stuff. You'll also be able to get a D-Day Waffen SS book, which will sort of go up against that and that kind of thing as well. Beyond that, they're also going to be moving into Operation Bagration, which sort of looks at the Soviets and their offensive in World War II. And that will also be supported by another German book that will be sort of like the opposite side of that sort of encounter. One of the things they have talked about there as well is that they're going to be doing some stuff with sort of terrain, both plastic and also in cardboard format, so sort of like quick and easy terrain to put together for playing out games in Budapest and that kind of thing as well, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
On the mid-war front, they're also looking at a couple of new booklets as well. So some people might have seen the ones that they've done already for the Fallschirmjäger and that kind of thing. They're also going to be doing one for the Red Devils. So it's going to be for those guys playing out the sort of British paratroopers and commandos and things, which are pretty awesome. And then finally, they've also said they're going to be looking at World War III as well. So they're going to be revisiting Team Yankee in a big way with a new complete starter set, which comes with all the US and Soviet forces that you'll be playing as in the period. And they're also going to be doing some revamped and sort of relooked at books. So the first ones they've talked about are obviously the Brits, the Russians, and the Soviets, and the US. But also, I'm sure more stuff will be coming down the line as well for that too. So there's quite a nice mix of stuff there for those people that want to dive into World War II during its different periods of the war, and also sort of the Cold War gone hot with Team Yankee as well.
Well, I tell you what, Jerry had a chance to have a sit down with Chris from Battlefront to get a bit of an update on some of the stuff that is currently coming through.
So, yeah, we actually sat down and we looked at the two new booklets for the Fallschirmjäger and the Italian parachutists, and then also the All-American Airborne plus the Rangers, which are the first of these new booklet and card style releases. So how do we chat with him, and we went through them and discussed those. Hello folks, I'm joined once again by Chris, and this time we're taking a step back in time from all of this late war to mid-war, and the two new releases from Battlefront for Flames of War, which is your parachutists.
Yes, indeed.
So these are a bit of I suppose it's a new format is the best way to put it, because they're combining Army Book with all the relevant cards and the like, which we haven't seen yet.
Yes, indeed. So basically, it's almost a standalone Army Book in itself, by which you can play mid-war, and you don't need to buy a separate card pack like the late war or even the mid-war books we've had prior to this. Yeah. So in each pack, and I haven't got them here, but it's nicely packaged in some cardboard. It's all cellophane wrapped, so it looks really nice. When you get it, once you open it up, you get a plethora of cards for command cards, unit cards, and obviously the book shows you how to use them for the different formations.
Good word. I like that.
I like to get it in where I can on various conversations and things.
Yeah. So we're actually looking at two books. We have Death from Above, which is the Fallschirmjäger.
Correct, yes.
And the All-American. So where do you want to start then?
Let's start with the All-American, because there is a slight thing to the Death from Above that we'll look at in a moment. There's actually two army lists in that one, but the All-American is also two army lists, but it does focus on the mid-war paratroopers. So what you have here is very nice, obviously front cover. I love the artwork that we've got on here for very evocative of sort of 1940s artwork with the Dakotas on there and things like that. But this is an All-American, so this is essentially the 82nd Airborne Regiment, the AA Regiment, as you might have seen. And in here, it does focus primarily on the paratroops. But like all of our army books, it does start off with the special rules for your infantry or your tanks, depending on what you've got. Also, a little bit of background as well. So here you've got the birth of the Airborne, which gives you a background to how the Airborne in the US Army actually came to exist. So they're not part of the Air Force; they are part of the Army. They just happen to use airplanes. But
not for long, mind you.
Well, indeed. I mean, at this point in the war, you did have the Air Force was part of the US Army, so any planes that flew were flew by Army officers. Then again, like all of our books, we have a bit more of an in-depth sort of background to where various stages of the war were at. You've got the infantry battalions there when they're fighting in North Africa, and really, this book is about sort of the Mediterranean. So what you're looking at is a lot of Italy battles, Crete for Greece, North Africa as well. And there's also options to use your mid-war army against any other mid-war army. So if you wanted to take it against sort of an Ostfront or an Eastern Front German unit, you can do. And this is actually the start of many of our middle ground mid-war books. So they're like kind of minor nations. So in the future, there will be Hungarians, Romanians. I believe at some point somebody's hopefully going to be looking on smaller Scandinavian battles like the Finnish and things like that. But without too many spoilers, this is what we've got as our first one. So what you're then going to eventually is your force organization chart. So this here is the 82nd Airborne Division. Which, as I said, is the main focus of the book. The 101st, which a lot of people know from Band of Brothers, things like that, they were later on in the war. As we were talking earlier, they were still training. They were still running up and down Curragh here at this point. So the 82nd are literally the veterans, and hence why we focused on them as a formation for the parachute. Now, the beauty of using this mid-war army is you can actually use some of the late war plastics that we've just released. So the parachute rifle company, any of the parachute platoons. And in this book as well, right on the back page, you've actually got the product list here. So underneath this basing guide, you've got the product list of what plastics that we recommend you use. They are late war centric, but you can use them because they use very similar weapons, very similar uniforms, just how you paint them really more than anything.
Well, that's it. I mean, for the Airborne, especially at this period, it's not until post Normandy that they actually change into the sort of standard late war American outfit that I want to say it's like the 1943 style, cut and color. And prior to that, they were all in the more khaki fatigues, which was perfect for earlier mid-war battles.
It's kind of more towards the terrain, and it was the color of it. And a lot of the early uniforms, parachutists or paratroops actually bribed the quartermaster to sew extra pockets on, so they made the uniform their own. But up to that point, they were very, very similar in terms of color and cut and style and things. And I know there is a whole books and things on it that do it. So back to the formation. So you've actually got an all-American force here. So this all-American force isn't just parachute, although they are the parachute in this book here, as well as the Rangers. And this is the second army list that you've got in here. So you've got Rangers that actually did fight various battles in North Africa and Crete and things. And then, as it says here, use the Fighting First, which is the mid-war American specific book, to then have support formations such as the M4 Shermans. You've also got armored rifle companies and things like that. So it's about melding the two armies and the two books together. But in here, it's a whole new formation, a whole new way to fight. So you've got specific stat lines here. Which is obviously the points cost and what they can do in the battle, as Flames of War players know, as well as all the special rules as well. And that goes through for the main formation as well as their support. And again, it's all on this black box formation as what obviously version 4 has become. So you've got your main, what you have to take. Then you've got your optional sort of troops or platoons. And these are essentially what you can take to reinforce your army. So all the full unit costs and stats are all in here. And then you've also got, like I said, the Rangers. So the Rangers, again, are on this black box formation. You must take these to take your army, but then you've got the option of taking X, Y, or Z. In this case, it's just a small mortar platoon that you can take with them. And the beauty of it is that there's nothing else that you need. You just need this book and the Fighting First army that you may already have. If you don't have that, it's an easy pickup. You know, it's a book on its own. All you need to get with that is just your desert units, essentially, is what they were, because it was very Africa-based, that one, of course.
Yeah, it's a good stepping off point. The interesting thing for me, for both of these books, but specifically for the American one, is having those paratroops, having the mid-war forces coming out so soon after we've seen the late war, means that if people have already picked up for their late war, they're already practically good to go for mid-war if they want to play a different style of game in a different area without having to go for a massive investment. Now, there are a few things that pop into this list that we don't see in the late war. So we were talking about this earlier, like the 7.5 recoilless cannons for the Fallschirmjäger. So mid-war does sometimes offer up alternate and variant options that you don't see late war, because they fell out of favor, or they just became obsolete, or because of the way the forces were used, they change. But having this, and having, you were saying you could use these as your majority force and then supplement it from the mid-war books. But the alternative is also true. If you've got the mid-war book and you've got a mid-war army, then the black box rangers or parachutists can become support. So you can have your All-Americans as a supplemental force for an already existing mid-war army as well.
That you've already got, and especially if you want to maybe take your games bigger than 100 points with, you know, more tanks on the table or varied scenarios, since we've had all the mission card packs and things like that. You want to play, like you say, play a different way. So it's not just Flames of War out the box, it's Flames of War different ways to play. But the beautiful thing about this book, as we said, it's not just the book that you get. So you also get quite a few unit cards as well. So you've got your formation card here, which is obviously just your handy guide to what you've got, as well as the support units that you can take as well there. And within that, you've also got some bits and bobs as well. So you've got the formation support, allied support, just as a different bit of sort of options and remembrances, really, as I call it, that card there. Then you've also got all of the different cards that you need for everything that's in the book. So you've got obviously your rifle platoons for your airborne there, and on both sides of the card, not only have you got your stats to play the game, but you've also got the points on the back there to obviously show what they're costing. And then you've also got the special rules as well as the rangers, the mortar platoons for the rangers and the parachutes. And you've also got the 75mm artillery battery. And like I say, if you've already got these for your late war army, you can just easily use them, bring them across. All you need are these unit cards. The fact they come in the pack in for one price is less investment for anybody that's already got them.
It's it's a nice easy pickup there. You're not having to jump around too much.
Exactly.
They're not the only cards in the pack, though.
They're not. I can see you eyeing them, because I know that you were looking through these quite excitedly. So another way of playing Flames of War is through the command cards, which gives you specific commanders, specific units. It's not just the sort of out of the book base guide. So the command cards that you can buy normally come separately, but we've put these in here. So for example, it's easier to show you the example. You've got James Gavin here. So he gives you some nice rules in there that show you exactly what you can do with him. For example, he reveals at the start of the game, and basically you can reposition one of your units within your deployment area. So once you set a game up, just by taking him for 4 extra points, this warrior gives you essentially an one over on the enemy. I actually had my troops here, as opposed to where you think I had them, so it kind of messes up your deployment.
Which is always handy. I think Gavin was in charge of the
he was eventually,
Sicily.
yes, and then eventually in late war, Gavin was, I think he actually transferred to the 101st, if I remember rightly. I might be wrong on that. Please correct me if not. But he was through and through. He was the one that created it, essentially. You've also got Matthew Ridgway. So this is another parachute rifle company. Okay, it's a formation commander, but it just increases their range on their command radius from 6 inches up to 8 inches, 15 centimeters to 20, obviously for those that don't use that imperial measurement. But it means that you've got more of a chance to take formation last stands. It's got more of a playthrough. And again, as a warrior, 5 points, it's just another way to play the game. Then I was talking about the individual regiments or sort of units. So here we've got the 325th Glider Infantry Regiment. So this was a specific unit. And what this actually does is upgrades or changes your ratings. Sometimes they downgrade command cards as well. But for 1 point, it actually makes all your assault teams better. So that's good for any glider infantry that you might have. ready to go. But then it's also all the motivation, hit on, and skill ratings are all changed in there as well.
Yeah.
And it's just a different way of playing, maybe for a specific unit that you've got in mind for playing.
Yeah, or if you're following a specific historic battle and you're trying to follow the actual
order of battle or anything
for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It means then you can tailor it to be that more specific, realistic sort of force that you've got there.
Yeah, that's it indeed. And I say they normally come in a separate pack for late war books or the mid war books. We've included them in here because it's a nice thing to have. Basically, it's something that we go. You've got your All-American book. You want to make the 300th and 25th Glider Regiment. Yeah, you can do.
Yeah, you can just grab it.
Yeah,
which is really nice. And we were talking about there is quite a lot that's available for German and American already. Yeah, as you can kind of see from there.
Yeah, so all of these codes at the top, apart from I think the bottom one there, the 7.5 centimeter tank hunter platoon, are actually all late war codes.
Yeah,
and then obviously all we've done with that is use them into your mid-war battles. So you just need that one pack.
Pluck out the ones that would be specific for the area.
Exactly. So you haven't got parachute HMGs, for example, because at that point in the war they just didn't exist in the Orbat or the order of battle that they were doing. But you can use this box, although it says late war on the front, you can use it, and that's the idea. And like I said, at the back of the book, it shows you what units you can use. And the majority of them are available through normal retailers. Yeah. There are a few codes, which especially with the German Fallschirmjäger, we will have a look at because they're direct only, so they are only available through our website. But they are very much the nuances, like you said, the 7.5 centimeter recoilers.
Very specific.
You're probably not going to use it outside of this army, so they are for the people that really want that specific unit. But the majority of them are available from most retailers, so it is a case of just nipping in, grabbing the book and some models if you don't have them, and off you go.
So speaking then of the Fallschirmjäger.
Of the Fallschirmjäger, yes. So Death from Above.
Yeah.
So Death from Above is slightly different actually to the All-American because it's actually got two distinct army formations in it. So you've got the German Fallschirmjäger, as everybody kind of knows from maybe the 6th Fallschirmjäger around Carnatan at the end of the war, towards the end of the war, should I say. You've also got the Italian Fulgarian here. So the Italians had their own parachute sort of school of training and things like that. And they fought a lot in Italy, as you can imagine. It's the homeland. Yeah. They also fought in Sicily, Greece, around Crete as well. There was a few battles there with the Italians that went in with the Germans. So we've included them within the book as well. So this book is actually split between the two. So it's slightly different to the All-American in its layout. And here you've actually got the German Fallschirmjäger at the beginning with the different regiments and when they were sort of formed, where they fought. So if you wanted to, again, you could do a specific division, because they're all divisions within the Fallschirmjäger. Bit of background as well towards the bottom of the page here, which has got quite a lot of information. Mercor is one of my favourite operations, actually within the mid-war period of the war, because it's the invasion of Crete, and where the British thought they were safe, suddenly all these German parachutes actually jumped out of planes into the middle of the defences, really, and fought them off. And I think the Canadians had a massive battle where they lost a lot of strength, the Canadians, but they gave their own, and these elite Fallschirmjäger suddenly were beatable. So,
well, it was almost a tipping point for airborne operations as well, because it showed the Allies just how effective paratroopers could be.
Yes.
And they really looked at that and they went, "This is fun." Just how they worked, it's fantastic. And on the other hand, specifically Hitler, I don't think it upset the high command as much, but Hitler looked at what had happened and the casualties they took to take Crete, and he went the other way, which was, we don't really want to start dropping people anywhere. And I think the Crete attack was one of the last ones for Germany in the war.
I believe it was, and it basically meant that after that, the Fallschirmjäger fought on foot. Yeah. They less became the airborne side of things. Yeah. But they were still elite. They still had access. They were still elite. They were still access, and this is one of the reasons why. Well, I say that the recoilless gun disappears at this point, because it was easier just to give them a standard 7.52. Exactly.
Than actually have the recoilless 7.5.
Yeah, so you didn't need to drag it into battle. It was already there, kind of thing.
If you're not having to carry it across a mountain over your shoulder, you don't need to worry about this. But it just shows how the forces involved in the war viewed parachutists after this point. One side looks at it and goes, "Look what they've managed to do with this. Look how effective paratroopers can be." Yeah. And the other side go, "Oh no, it wasn't cost effective. It wasn't cost effective. It's too high a butcher's bill for what we achieved." Yes. And at that point, things changed dramatically. So it's It's an interesting scenario itself.
Yeah, no, indeed. And this is what the book kind of tries to kind of point out as well for you, because it does mean that you get the background as well as what happened to them when they went for regrouping in France, and that's why there was a lot of Fallschirmjäger around Carentan, because basically they were there at the right time to do some battles with the Americans, really. And then you had the American 101st that got in and went against them, airborne versus airborne. Not very often that happens, really, because they're normally attacking others' weaker units, for example.
They're landing for very specific objectives behind,
much like the British at Pegasus Bridge, rather than so going further into the book, we've also got the Fallschirmjäger at war here. So you've got a little bit of background on specific brigades, some of the nice maps that we obviously produce that go all the way down and show all the different movements of units and things like that.
I do love the history sections because they're a great primer for people who aren't particularly au fait with the Second World War as a whole, and it's such a big subject to cover. If people are just getting into historic wargaming, being able to go, I really fancy doing this period, or I fancy doing this army, or this force, or whatever it happens to be, and then when you hit the book and you've got 3 or 4 pages, it's not dense. Bit by bit, it's not being extracted and the minutiae isn't being examined, but you get a really nice flavour of what happened, what the force was, where they fought, and how they fought. And I really like the way the history sections are laid out. And you've even got a timeline running along the bottom.
You have indeed, yeah. So the timeline is actually something that we've introduced for our mid-war books right from the early war, the initial invasion of various countries on the Western Front, and it's split down to Eastern Front, Mediterranean Theatre, Pacific Theatre, which obviously at the open day last year, we did announce we are going to be going back to the Pacific at some point. So they have sort of started bringing in bits and bobs like 7th of December, which everyone knows as the attack on Pearl Harbor. That's when it comes in. And then as you go further on in the book, it does have more of the sort of the years and things like that. And obviously it's a mid-war book, so it kind of finishes around 1943. Because that's when the Fallschirmjäger went to the Eastern Front. So you do have a lot of different maps there from where they sort of were. And then also down the bottom here towards the tail end of the year before we hit late war, when that crossover becomes sort of its own thing, really. But yeah, so it's a really nice, it is nice, like you say. The timeline's really put it into perspective about where the different units are, what they're achieving, what the goals were. Because at this point of the war, the Germans weren't really on the defensive. They were still on the attack. It was actually the Allies. The Americans have just entered the war by a couple of months at some points. And they're still on we're learning fast. We're really having to backtrack a little bit and learn and relearn doctrine.
A steep learning curve, or especially with the likes of the All Americans book, where they're coming into Africa, they were picking up stuff from the likes of the British who'd been there for a year or so and actually ran into the problems that the Americans were running into at the start and had already worked out ways around it. So they were having to change their doctrine to follow others that had already overcome those obstacles.
No, absolutely. So, and it's very interesting. I love mid-war myself personally. It's one of my favourite areas. Just because it's so specific as well. The sort of Western Europe's kind of died down with the invasion of France, and Britain's on the defensive for the Battle of Britain. Whereas all these new fronts that they never planned on fighting, the doctrine of the late 30s wasn't, we're going to be in Africa fighting. We're not going to be in Russia by 1941, 42. Especially for the Soviets, they weren't ready for the fight at the beginning, you know. So it's a really interesting period. So it's nice to revisit it really with these books, definitely.
And apart from the Fallschirmjäger, they're Italians then. So speaking of not wanting to be in North Africa.
Absolutely. So you go through the book and you obviously got your Fallschirmjäger force, very similar to what the Americans have got there. So you've got your platoons, your companies. The Germans have support units, such as the Marder 2. So slightly different to the Marder that you had for the Mid-War Africa Corps book by about 1.2 centimeter on the gun, because it's 7.62 is the one that we were using. So there's a slight difference on what it was actually armed with. But then you've also got the pioneer platoons in there and some other support units, because the Germans did reinforce their airborne especially. And then, like you say, you go then into the Folgari. So these are the Italians, and the Italians learnt a lot from the Germans and took advisors and things, but there's a bit of background there because they actually had their own distinct formation. It wasn't just Fallschirmjäger, even though they trained together a little bit with and saw what happened to them as well. But then you've got your Avanti force. So The Avanti force here does take units from the Avanti book from mid-war.
Yeah.
And then you've also got your infantry formations from the Avanti book, as well as the parachute company. So this parachute company is the one we've got here in front of us. And again, that's a black box formation. So you've got what you must take.
Yeah.
You've got the greys then as your options. And very similar to the Germans, there's a lot of options. The Americans are quite a small force. They were more the tip of the spear, I suppose, rather than the whole force. The Germans and the Italians definitely were all in and nothing else.
Yeah.
So it's kind of land, attack, take the objective, hold the objective, and wait for them for the reinforcements, whereas the Americans will kind of get in and then just wait for the reinforcements.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the doctrine definitely changed, especially with the formation of other airborne units for the Americans.
Also, you get the feeling of where they were used and how they were used as well, because where you have the mid-war All-Americans, they were like tip of the spear, as you say. There wasn't a lot on the ground. At the same sort of time, the German and Italians were already there.
Mm-hmm.
They were supporting land forces that were there. So with the exception of Crete, where they were dropped from above, they do have the broader range of support choices available to them simply because of where they were operating and how long they'd been there as well. And so that reflects in the lists, which is good.
Part of winning any war is your supply chain, of course,
Yeah.
and just being so close to Italy and the fact that Italy had been Italian, there wasn't really the 1943 invasions of Husky and on Sicily by the Allies. At this point, they're still pumping arms and tanks and things out that were able to support the troops that were just over the sea, really.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, that's very interesting. And when you go through, you're looking at all the different options that you can have here again. So, for example, you know, you've got machine gun platoons that the Americans just don't have, which are good in static lines of defense. They're really good in terms of pinning down enemies. I mean, we saw in our game of the day, if an enemy's pinned, it's a lot easier to break.
Yeah,
I mean, I charged some tanks over a wall and they were there. But then you've also got the support units of the engineer platoons as well. So the engineer platoons are very good motivation. They're, you know, very good for assault rating as well. So the assault
rating of 2 up.
It's 3+ actually for the assault rating.
Oh, it's 2 up for.
But in terms of the actual unit and what the Italians were capable of, that's really good. They're aggressive. They get in there and do some damage really where they can. So
I think one of the big misconceptions is the Italians weren't a good force. The Italians were relatively good. They weren't well supplied and they weren't well led, though. I think that's more the issue. And you know, certainly in North Africa, you see that where what they had, and occasionally when they had to counterattack under German command, they did exceptionally well.
Yeah,
but having very fearless, aggressive, elite troops to support takes away some of the issues that the Italian formations normally suffer from.
No, absolutely. And even just the fact that the Germans and the Italians, the engineer platoons for the Italians, the pioneer platoons, have access to flamethrowers. Flamethrowers in mid-war, as we saw from the Eastern Front.
Devastating.
Absolutely great. There's an auto pin. It's an auto firepower as well. So it's just kaboom, kaboom, and everything's dead. And in an assault, everything dies in front of it, unless they're in cover and things like that. And that's where the nuances of the rules come out. But just having that as an option is really good for Axis players. The Americans obviously have to wait a little while, and even then it was kind of only really used on the Pacific front. So there's...
and you're not looking at hugely armoured vehicles coming against you as well.
Especially not in mid-war, not at this point.
So, which you know, just makes life much easier when you're running about with a flamethrower as well. If you're
Absolutely.
trying to boil up a few crews in there.
No, indeed. And then very similar to the American book, you've got your product list at the back here. So in there, you've got the Germans at the top that you can get from the late war range. Yeah. Sadly for the Italians, there's not really much in the late war range, if anything, unfortunately. But so you have got your direct only codes at the bottom here that are available through our website, but the majority of the Germans will be available from your local retailer or gaming store or even online. So that's really nice. But again, everything in there you've got that you need to go. And then very similar to the American book are the unit cards. So you've got 2 sets of unit cards actually in here. So you've got the Germans and the Italians. I'm trying to get them on camera because I'm trying to work backwards around here. So you've got the American, the Germans. There we go. Thank you. Yep. So you've got the Germans and the Italians. And what you're doing basically is, once again, you've got all your unit card stats on one side. On the back of it, you've got your point score. And obviously that you need to do that. And then at the back as well, you've also got all the special rules that you might need for each unit. Just depending on what they're actually able to do. So mortars can do smoke bombardments. There's your 7.5 centimeter that you were really into.
Not that I was hunting for that or anything, but
and then obviously on the back of the engineer card, you've also got the special rules for flamethrowers and things like that. So it's a great little reference. It's what I love about version 4, that you don't have to keep flicking through the book. You have to work on different product lines. You know, you've got all the unit cards that you can just have set up at the bottom of the table. And then again, same as the Americans, you've got your command cards. So your command cards for the Germans, there's actually quite a few of them here.
it's a beefy set.
Yeah, it's almost a command card pack on its own, but you've got specific units again. So you've got the Fallschirmjäger or the Fallschirm Pioneer Company there, which is 0 points, but it's a build list as well. Okay, so you're pretty good to go on that one with different options. And then as you go through, you've got pure luck and things like that. You've also got some specific units that we couldn't include in the book, but if you've got them at home already, then you can obviously go with them. So
you can
big
add them in.
mortars, things like that.
Yeah.
And then if I can find them, there we go. So these are your specific commanders. So there's a couple here. So you've also got Ramk, who's actually in the book as his own battle group.
Yeah.
So he's got some nice rules, things like his unit passes the tactics tests for the movement orders are 2+, I think, because almost basically an automatic.
Yeah.
You roll a 1, it's bad. Everything else is good, of course. He's only 4 points for the Fallschirmjäger Company. You've also got a warrior here, which is von der Heid. And basically, he gets a better rally test, things like that. So he's good for standing still in assaults. If the Americans do get in and start attacking them, the British or any other ally you're playing, then they can stand longer and then possibly counterattack better. Yeah. Which, as we've seen from assaults, is where it's at. And there's a good few in there. There's about 4 of them. So you've got Walter Koch, you've got Rudolf Wittsteg in there, and just a few other different bits and bobs, diversion tactics things, fortifying buildings, panzerknackers. I won't give you the whole list. Very similar for the Italians as well. So you've got grenade assaults, which give you even better assault ratings for normal infantry teams. So for the whole turn, it's a 2+ on the infantry assault, which is what the engineers get anyway. But
that's fairly devastating.
2+ is just scary. Yeah, it really is. They throw the grenades in as part of their doctrine, of course, as well as specific batteries and things like that that you might have or know of that you can build. So really, all in all, I'm really excited about these mid-war books, just for what they offer, what they actually come with in the pack. And it's something that I'm looking to do with my Fallschirmjäger that I've built for late war. Yeah. Actually, I'm going to convert them into mid-war and take them as a mid-war army that I can use in late war. So I'm actually going to go the other way around. Right. So whereas a lot of people are playing late war at the moment, I'm actually going to maybe strip a couple of units out of the D-Day German book for the Fallschirmjäger and actually use them as mid-war specific and then just upgrade them if I need to. That way I can get some mid-war battles in, because that is my favourite period.
It's interesting because I've, even though majority of my forces are German, I picked up a small amount of American Airborne. I'm not sure what they weigh in at points-wise these days, but it was about 4,000 points in 3rd edition.
Wow, so yeah.
Which any day now I'm going to start painting. But the idea now, looking at the mid-war, is actually I could quite happily do my late war, keep my late war actually as 101st. Yeah. And split out, I can comfortably split out half of that and do them as all-American and run them in mid-war and have a bit of both then as well. Absolutely. And it's like I say, it's a different way to play. So it means that you can, kind of get more bang for your buck, you know? Yeah. And essentially, that's what it's all about, isn't it, nowadays? You know, making as much of what you can from what you've got. But being able to go into a second period and use 95, 96% of what you've already got comfortably means you've a lot more flexibility with your purchases, so you're not just restricting yourself. And mid-war, as you say, really is a different way to play, because each of the periods are defined by what you face and what other armies are like. And a mid-war German army against a mid-war American is a very different matchup than late war or early war, or they just play differently. They've got different things and they offer different challenges unique to the period as well. So it's nice to see mid-war getting a bit of love again. Absolutely. And it's that whole thing of what we're trying to do at Battlefront. We haven't forgotten about mid-war. It's not, it's dead in the water or anything. We're actually trying to still support it because there's a lot of people out there that are still playing the mid-war armies. They don't maybe want to go to late war just yet. It could be that your store, your club isn't playing that particular period, or people have already got these mid-war armies. So it's about supporting that and then maybe using that as a springboard to go into late war. So you're not left behind and missing out on all the fun of the global campaign, or missing out on these new builds that are coming out, especially with the British book out in February, the Waffen SS in April. These are going to be whole new units, whole new things to do and play. So it's
not leaving anybody behind,
Yeah.
bringing everybody forward
That's
the journey that are still on for Late War.
Yeah, so it's really exciting to see how they're releasing these smaller sets with all the command cards and bits and bobs you need, because sometimes you're waiting for a big book and there's not enough content. So the likes of the three, well, with the British parachutists as well, that'll be 3 little tiny self-contained books, and the 21st Panzer Division has just come out as well. So if people don't want to do a generic list, I love how they're just approaching these now, where you've got your big book that contains most of the generic or most of the big names, but then they can just slide out these smaller releases that are just self-contained and a bit more interesting, a bit more the sort of the minutiae of various conflicts. So it's nice.
Probably a simpler proposition for the company even to create those then.
Well, in the past they would have just not bothered, or made them as sort of add-ins or downloads somewhere. So
yeah, no, it's
So, yeah.
good.
Nice.
Okay, Ben, what here? We've got news from Spectre.
Yeah, so one of the big sort of gaming genres, I guess, that's been taking up over the last sort of year and a half, maybe, has been the kind of the modern era. And so one of the big companies out there that does that is Spectre Miniatures, and they've been revisiting one of the fan favorite ranges that sort of sprang out when the company basically started. And they've added in a few more new sort of African militia models and characters into the mix now for you to use in your forces when you're playing Spectre operations. So they've done a couple of different new warlord models and sort of leaders that you can use in your forces. And one of the cool things about Spectre is that it's a game that's very, very malleable. And so you could be using these models potentially as things that are controlled by a game master. They could be controlled by another player, or they could just be something that you're playing against as basically maybe 2 people or 1 person going up against it, and the game you're running it almost a little bit of an AI and that kind of thing. The models they've actually done for this range are really fun, and they kind of go back to a lot of stuff that maybe people would have seen in a lot of the kind of like late 90s, early 2000 war moves that came out. So maybe you'd be like things like Black Hawk Down and that kind of thing. They've got a really load of good miniatures that you could use in that kind of setting and stuff. But these are really nice because they have a lot of character to them, and I really like what they've done with them in terms of the weapon options and that kind of thing as well, which is really cool. So yeah, Spectre's definitely one of you want to go and check out. And if you want to have some sort of guys to go up against, maybe gangs or kind of warlord packs within Africa and that kind of thing, you've got some new options there from those guys at Spectre to play around with.
I have 2 amazing ideas for these. Okay. So one, District 9.
Yep.
These would be awesome for District 9. I also have an amazing game idea. Okay.
Right.
So what I'm thinking is a whole bunch of those, okay, a city table, okay, and Bob Geldof and a bunch of other celebrities from Comic Relief and all that other stuff being hunted down.
The real Expendables.
And you could basically be like a big escape scenario where you could have, I don't know, you could have Dawn French waddling around there, Bob Geldof wondering what's going on, you know, it's like, give me the money! No, you're not getting the money. Give me the money! And this could be amazing. With a Boner in there as well, singing.
Bono.
Boner.
Bono. Warren, you
in there.
really are getting bad.
And he could be sitting singing, and tonight, thank God it's there instead of you.
Well, if you want to do an escape scenario,
What?
Warren.
Wait. You've missed the obvious one.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jesus, for Russell Howard.
Yeah, we'll get Russell Howard in there as well.
No, you don't know. Russell went to Africa for Children in Need.
Right?
And they cut all this out because they on the bus they all started singing, "Thank you, Jesus, for Russell Howard." Sing, Russell, sing.
then-
So Russell had to sing it too.
So just think about it, like all these minor shit celebrities on the tabletop being hunted down by
basically,
African
we're
militia.
gonna raid. I'm a celebrity. Get me out of here's recruiting list.
Oh yes, but then we'd have to give the celebrities a chance.
Right.
So we'd stick Frankie Boyle in there as well. We'd have some Frankie Boyle special rules in there. To give them half a fighting chance.
What would it just be? Don't sit in the front row.
Well, yeah. Don't get too close because he'll burn you. He'll roast you.
All right. Now there is a couple of more models here, Warren, as well. They've got some support units here as well.
Oh,
RPGs and
yes.
HMGs, or is that
That's
an
it.
LMG? Probably
Well,
an LMG.
Well, one of them is an LMG, and
Yeah.
the other is an RPG.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Problem
It's
solved.
African nomad support.
As I
Okay.
said, they've got an exceptionally large range of stuff now for Spectre operations. So you can play as a whole bunch of different sort of like first tier operators, as well as just sort of general. When I say general, I don't mean it disparagingly, but general army figures as well in the mix.
Yeah.
For the British and the Americans, you've also got a lot of terrorist forces, insurgent forces, and that kind of thing as well. One of the really cool things they've done is they've kind of done like an alt history kind of near future setting where you can play as like some really badass looking Russians and Spectre guys against the US and that kind of thing as well. So they've done some really amazing stuff with these rules. They keep coming out with scenarios and all kinds of stuff as well. And I say it's one of the games out there that's really, really good for the idea of like games masters at the table. So someone sitting there and sort of like having an omnipotent view of everything that's going on and throwing things at you as you're playing the game to try and like, create that idea of like the craziness of war and stuff on the tabletop. So,
That'll do. Right. D&D news, Justin.
Yeah.
Archon the Cruel and the Dark Order.
yeah, so this is a set of models that were created by Joe Manganiello, who a lot of people will know is very big now in the sort of world of D&D. He's also a big movie star as well.
Love you,
but
Joe.
But he is a big lover of D&D, and so one of the new books that came out, Descent into Avernus, comes with a whole bunch of sort of characters and stuff from the Hells and that kind of plane. And so his character, Arkan the Cruel, and two of his other subsidiary characters, Kroll the Turtle and Toragar Steelfist, the Minotaur bodyguard, actually feature his like fan creations feature in that book, and you can go and meet them and interact with them within the Descent into Avernus setting and that kind of thing for Dungeons and Dragons. And so we've had a little look at some of the stuff they've been doing in preview form. I think it was quite a few months ago now that Gale Force 9 were doing for their kind of like nice collector's series that they do for D&D. But this is the new set that's coming out, which collects all three of those models together into one pack, and you can pick it up right about now as well. So yeah, very, very cool. And as a lot of people said in the comments, it's really nice to see someone who effectively was a big fan of D&D getting their own creations sort of breathed into the whole living structure of what D&D is now in 5th edition, which is cool. So, yeah.
I think it really shows
My
the
wife
direction
tells
they're
me-
taking the-
My wife tells me that turtles can breathe through their arse. Now, I haven't checked that up, but that's been melting my mind now for a couple of days. Justin.
It doesn't matter because that's not a turtle.
No, that's a minotaur.
No, that's a tortoise.
That's a turtle.
Oh,
You see, you're like, there's a big spate of tortoises being killed in America
why?
throwing them
because
into the
people
water.
keep throwing them into the water thinking they're turtles. They keep trying to save them. But
Oh, save the turtle! Save the turtle! I'm a tortoise! Don't chuck me in the water!
plop.
And then that's the end of it.
So
like
yeah,
it's
you're making a mistake there.
Yeah. So he doesn't breathe through his arse, but a turtle might.
Sure, why not? Yeah.
Justin, find out for me. Not now, but for
I
XLBS.
don't need this research.
I
to be
need
put
to
on.
know.
No.
I need to know. Can a turtle
You
breathe?
have Google.
Can't
In this
breathe
day
through
and
its
age,
arse.
you have one of the biggest brains in your pocket, and you can pull it out and just start
Justin.
tapping it.
But
What?
it doesn't
Justin,
matter.
I've had one of the biggest
Ah,
brains.
no,
Oh.
be here.
It doesn't matter. Have you never seen Galaxy Quest?
Yes, I have.
You're
Why?
my Sigourney Weaver.
No. I do not just repeat what you say. I have a defined role on this team, and it is not that bloody stupid.
No, you repeat what the computer says.
Okay, we have now. This is interesting news, Justin. This is going to get your juices flowing.
Oh dear.
Your resin juices, your IPA alcohols. Yes, you're going to love this. Titan Forge have a Patreon project up now where you're going to get loads and loads of amazing 3D minis.
Ooh, demons with Tetsuos.
Oh my word!
Okay,
look
I'm
at
sold.
them.
Okay, so this is a new project from Titan Forge, who a lot of people who've been around in the industry will know from quite a few years ago now. They've done a whole bunch of amazing stuff. They've done ogres and lizard men and all kinds of things like that. But they're now turning their attention towards a new Patreon project where they're looking to get a certain amount of subscribers every month, which will allow you to download big, fat bumper packs of miniatures that you can print off at home as 3D STL files. So their newest one that they've done is based on a lot of stuff they've done looking at Japan and China and that kind of Asian influence, but they're also looking to a lot of other things as well. So obviously you can see the preview there for that kind of like fantasy sort of demon sorceress miniature as well that they've been working on. And again, the whole idea is that these are going to be made really easy and quick to print off at home for you to use it and that kind of thing as well. So yeah, as I say, Really interesting idea. We've seen a couple of companies doing something similar to this. Lion Tower Miniatures does something where they have a Patreon up for 3D files, so you can go and get those and download those as well. But yeah, it's really nice to see a bigger company sort of stepping in and trying something different as well on this front. Because as we know, 3D printing is a pretty massive thing right now.
2020 is going to be our year of the resin printer. So the 2019, myself and Justin, a high five, we nailed the FDM printing, okay?
SLA, you mean?
FDM.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
You thought you'd nailed it.
Yeah, in
No,
20
we had nailed it until I went on vacation.
Yeah, and then I broke them. But he
All
fixed
of
them.
them.
He fixed them.
Well, I still have one to fix.
Okay,
No, two to fix.
This sounds so nailed, yeah.
In 2020 is going to be the year of the resin printer because we're going to explore in 2020 whether it's even necessary to buy another model
Cool.
ever again, or whether we could just print stuff.
So the first month will be interesting. And then it'll be broke.
No, because I'm not going on vacation while he's working. We're going to have to sync up our
we will
vacation
see.
time,
We'll see.
Warren.
But I'm like, bring up the picture of that there. Because
yeah.
what I'm interested in is how easy these are to print. Because they'll be easy to buy, they'll be easy to download. The key here will be how easy are they to print, and are they able to print them in single piece? Do they require much in the way of supports, or if these guys, when they've sculpted them, took into account, if you printed at this orientation. In this way, there'll be less need for supports and the likes. So
one of the things, it would be really interesting to see if we can maybe get a couple of the STR files off these guys and give it a go. But I was going to say that we are actually going to be hopefully talking a little bit more with Titanforge about this process and sort of how they've brought it together and what kind of things they're doing with this one. But their claim is that it is going to be easy to print.
Well,
So
definitely, I want to put
Well,
that to the test.
Clearly,
Yeah.
the side saddle fish is going to be
Yes.
probably.
Oh, the lady on the koi?
It's not going to be one print. Look at the size of the thing.
No, that'll work.
No,
that'll work in an
work.
SLA, not a problem.
Including the lady on top.
Yep, I can do that.
And you won't. But what about supports and stuff underneath the chin of the fish for one of them?
It may not need it because
Depending on the angle that it prints at, Lloyd, the biggest thing for SLA printing is if you can have a solid continuous piece running up off of the bed, it will just continue to print it.
Yeah, and
Your problem comes whenever you hit what are called islands, which are parts where it's going to try to begin printing in thin air. That's where you need your supports and your structure to actually continue on.
So, for example,
The bows, yes, are a perfect example.
Storm Shadow here.
Mm.
That bow is at
Yes.
that orientation, so if it started at the base, it would come up, do the legs, not a problem, and then it would try and print this, and it would just float away in the muck.
Yeah, and it
Whereas-
wouldn't have anything to bond onto.
Whereas that one could just go from top to bottom. Grant.
possibly.
Pretty much. I
Possibly.
mean, like,
That's what we
so
need to
for
find
the
out.
for the lady on the fish, what you would do is you would lean it back so that it's at an angle, and then it can just print up
But-
through an entire pillar.
But this is what we want to test: is whether we have to do any of that,
Yes.
or will it come from these guys in a
have they
format
put that in?
that's already got all that done
Scaffolding
for
and
you?
all that
Yeah.
nonsense.
See, I would say more than likely no, because that's just part and parcel of working with the SLA stuff. But if they've done it,
And
awesome.
Instead of guessing, Ben, reach out to them. Tell them that Justin is going to put it to the test.
Wants to
We want the
print a
big
fish.
flappy fish, and he's going to do
The
it.
side saddle one.
Truth to tell,
Yeah.
if I had to pick one that I wanted to try
Yeah,
for
the fish.
difficulty, it would actually be the archers.
Yeah, well, you're not going to get the pick. We've already picked. You're going to do the fish.
Fishy.
Fair enough.
Okay, so definitely one worth checking out. I'm very excited by that and projects of this ilk, right? RPG news. Alien is now out in the wild. This is from Freya Legan. There's a lot of chatter about this.
Yeah, so this was something that we've talked about before in the news, but now it is actually out there in the wild for you to go and pick up as a core rulebook, although they may be going through a little bit of a reprinting step at the moment because obviously a lot of people wanted to pick up this role-playing game. It uses a lot of the tried and tested stuff that they used before in some of their other role-playing games, but the core sort of feature of this that I think is really cool is that you can play it in two different ways. So one of the ways that you can play the game is in what's called cinematic play. And that's the idea of playing through a one-shot style adventure, which is themed around the idea of the films. So, for example, Alien 1 or Alien 2, where the survivability of your characters is drastically limited. And the idea is you will probably die by the end of your maybe 3 or 4 hour session, but you'll have played out a tense alien-filled experience. The other way you can play the game in what's called campaign play, and that's your more sort of standard role-playing format, and that will allow you to go and explore a little bit more of the universe. And one of the key things they've done in this game is they've tried to look beyond what we sort of know from the films and learn a little bit more about things like Weyland-Yutani and the Marines and that kind of thing as well. So as well as dealing with things like the existential threat of the xenomorphs and the aliens, you're also going to be having to deal with like cutthroat corporate types and that kind of thing, Marines that maybe have their own agenda and that kind of thing too. And obviously they're going to be trying to tying all that into this horrible sort of nasty sci-fi horror trope that we get with Alien, which would be pretty.
Were colonial marines a corporate thing or were they a national thing? Do we know what they were?
I have no clue. But
Somebody's typing.
I'm
furiously.
Googling it.
Ben's typing.
Because I'm really curious as to whether by that stage of thing were they corporate thing.
The fact that in Aliens they get sent in with somebody from Weyland-Yutani seems like they belong to.
Yeah.
Probably because they're sent in with half of my two dads.
Mm-hmm. If you know at home, definitely post for me there because I'm really curious as to whether.
But that's the only thing that makes it look like they're a private security force.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, they look like they might be the official military of the time.
Possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the components do look cool in this. I have to say that right
Free
now.
League always do beautiful stuff, which is why I own so much of it.
So yeah, I did actually look it up, and it seems that the colonial marines that we see in the films are actually part of the United States Army within that kind of sci-fi future, and they're almost like a little bit of like their space force, to coin a term that now exists apparently within
the
the
Space
world.
Force. Did anything ever come of that?
Yes.
It's now actually a proper registered part of the U.S. Army. So.
Yeah, what?
Okay, final bit of news. Okay, we have a new edition of Werewolf the Apocalypse in the works.
Yeah, so this was a deal that was struck between Hunters Entertainment, who've done a really, really cool role-playing game called Kids on Bikes, which, as you might imagine, has a little bit of an 80s theme to it, and also Paradox Entertainment, who also own the rights to Werewolf the Apocalypse, which is going to be coming out in video game form. And this is something that's coming out in 2 years' time now, so it's going to be coming out in 2021, so it's a little bit of a future vision for it at the moment, but they're going to be bringing back the classic World of Darkness Werewolf the Apocalypse in a new edition of the game in 2 years' time, which would be very cool. The idea of what they're doing here is they're kind of going to be pushing the story forward a little bit. And so one of the big focuses around Werewolf the Apocalypse when it first came out was that you were playing as werewolves that are effectively, to sort of like dumb it down a little bit, eco-warriors. You were trying to protect Gaia, who was under threat from all the sort of outside influences and that kind of thing as well, and Pentec Corporation and that kind of stuff. And also defending the Umbra, which is almost like the shadow realm that exists alongside the real world. In this one, Gaia has effectively been wounded. The world, you lost effectively. The tribes didn't come together in enough power to try and stop these corporations. And so now effectively you're now the werewolf furry Greenpeace who are out there to try and bring things together and work to try and save Gaia from the inevitable end that is coming up towards you. So yeah, you're going to be not only dealing with all the kind of threats that exist in the Umbra and all these corporations and that kind of thing, but you're also going to be dealing with the intertribal struggles that you have as well. And the cool thing is they're going back to all the epic tribes that I remember when I was playing this as a teenager, and I'll get to play as a Get a Fenris or a Red Talon again, which would be very cool. So
there you go.
GOF for the win.
Right. Last thing for this episode then. We have a Kickstarter. Car Wars 6th edition from Steve Jackson Games is out. It's funded. It's got 16 days left. And this is a complete redesign of the classic game, Ben, yeah?
So this is from Steve Jackson Games. A lot of people will remember Car Wars very fondly. It's a game that has appeared on many people's lists of top war games and stuff over the years. This is going to be a reimagining of everything that they've done before. One of the cool things is they've tried to make it a little bit more streamlined and fast. And if you want to learn a little bit more about the gameplay itself, you can go and check out their Kickstarter page where they did a whole bunch of different videos talking about sort of getting up and getting started playing the game, as well as some sort of larger videos as well, where they show off entire playthroughs of it as well. On top of the sort of streamlined mechanics of the game, they've also designed a whole bunch of new plastic miniatures as well. So they've done a whole bunch of stuff that you can use to get started in the game and start playing the game straight away. So they're all 1/64 scale, highly detailed plastic cars, which come unpainted and come with a whole bunch of different options for you to tag on and stuff like that as well. The kind of ethos of the game, if you didn't get it from the idea of car and wars, is that you're going to be playing a game where you play as two different sort of squads trying to basically destroy each other on the tabletop in your crazy post-apocalyptic cars, covered in guns and all sorts of other weird stuff as well, like slicers and smashers and all kinds of things like that. So yeah, really cool, interesting one there, and it'll be very good to see whether or not the people that liked it in its retro format are going to like the sort of reimagined version of the game as well.
It's got stiff competition though.
It does.
Yeah,
It does,
Gaslands does exist. So yeah,
But it's a recognizable IP, which is
Yeah.
good because it's been 6, maybe 7 editions of it over the years,
Yes, well,
which have swung in
there's
popularity.
been 5 editions.
Oh, so this is six
now,
now,
yeah.
there you
this
go.
is the sixth
So-
edition. Yeah.
And this one, I think, is pulling in a lot of the sort of fan work that had been done on a couple, not last edition, but I think like 3rd, 4th, where there'd been a lot of popularity with it, and it had sort of got national leagues and all sorts of things. So there was all this competitive play, but they've scaled the cars to be the same size as Hot Wheel dinky
Oh,
cars.
cool.
So if
Yeah.
if you like this game and you pick it up and you do play other games, or if you play Gaslands or whatever, you can get this game and then mix
Take
and
these
match.
minis.
I guess that's the way of looking. I was
Yeah.
looking at Gaslands as competition to it, but I guess Gaslands isn't, because you could, like, it's such a low bar to entry. You
Yeah.
could just take
You
your
just
cars
mix and
over and
match.
jump
Yeah.
So
into
much
it.
opportunity
Yeah.
for crossover.
I love the cars. The cars were done by on Tabletop site member.
Were they?
Motion and Poetry.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
He
Yeah.
did, he did all the 3D renders and sculpts for this, because I've been watching him pop up for a few months now until he sent them off to get the first renders printed, and then somebody painted them up.
Well
Superstars
done,
in there.
man. Thank you. That is awesome.
Very cool.
That is awesome. Right, guys, that wraps us up. Okay, so go and check out the Prize Center, where we've been announcing the winners of the Firelock Games Week. And yeah, remember, we're going to be running a Star Wars hobby challenge over the what remains of the winter up until about the end of January. Go and open a project, do whatever you want, have fun, and you might well win a prize.
Yeah. Just a wee
Guys-
reminder, the only thing they need to do is pick the drop down then.
Yes, all you have to do is create a project and make sure you in the contests drop down you choose the Star Wars Hobby Weekend.
Yes.
Okay. Right. That about wraps us up. Ben, have a great Christmas and Happy New Year, man.
Indeed, you too. Yes.
And we will see you three dudes, Jerry, Justin, Lloyd. We'll reconvene again tomorrow morning. I have an issue. I'm having a weird multi-dimensional brain issue.
Okay.
I need to discuss it.
Is that not just your normal day?
Yeah.
Oh man.
It was great when you explained this on the phone. It was wonderful.
Yeah, this one has been playing on my mind.
All right.
I need resolution on this before I go mad.
Okay, so if you want to possibly see Warren loses mind, make sure and come across to OnTabletop.com tomorrow for the Weekender XLBS.
Absolutely. Guys, if we don't see you before then, have a great Christmas and a wonderful new year. And may it bring you joy, happiness, peace, and joy to your lives.
And more toys, more
And-
gaming.
And just have fun. Eat turkey and hot nuts by the fire. Love yous.
Paddy bye.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.